Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another live stream here on Free Will Photos. Today, we are going to be looking at the color enhancer and the color adjustment filters inside of ON1. This is going to be a pretty straight to the point, sweet and simple tutorial live stream, if you will. But before we dive into it, I do have two announcements that I kind of want to bring to you guys' attention. First, I'm going through the process of updating freewillphotos.com. There's going to be a lot of features on there that I'm trying to get established. So please bear with me as the site goes through some makeovers and some overhauls. Now, if there's something specific that you would like to see on the Free Will Photos website, please drop it in the comment section below on this video, or you can send me an email. You can also just come over to the website and go to the contact form and let me know what it is that you would like to see. And in the near future, I'm going to actually have a questionnaire because I want to make this website something that is user friendly, but also beneficial to everyone who finds themselves on this page. And then the second thing that I want to bring to your attention is I need feedback from you guys if I should continue with live streams as they are, or if you guys would be more interested in a Zoom call where you can ask your questions live, same kind of setting where I have a lesson that I'm teaching, but offering it more to a smaller audience, and then taking those videos or those sessions and posting them to YouTube. So you're not going to lose access to being able to see these. And I'll be honest, there is a debate on if that's going to be a paid service or not. But I assure you that the monetary amount or the price for these once a month trainings or whatever will not break the bank or hurt your wallet. And I'm going to try and jam pack it with as much content and value as possible. So if you guys have comments, questions, anything like that, please let me know what your thoughts are. I'm okay if you say, no, I don't want that. I'm not looking for a yes, and I'm really not looking for a no. I'm just trying to figure out what would be the best for the entire community. So your input really does matter. Now, let's go ahead and dive in to today's lesson. We're going to jump over to the computer like so. All right. So here we are inside of ON1 Photo Raw, and I have a photo. I did some brief edits to this image already, but nothing in the effects module, just on the develop module. And then I used a little bit of Portrait AI. And of course, this is my beautiful daughter, Anaya. Now, I have the color adjustment pulled up and the color enhancer pulled up. One of the main reasons I would offer the color adjustment over the color enhancer, and this is a spoiler alert, I just want to be straight and to the point. The color enhancer is by far the tool you should go for 95% of the time. However, if you find yourself in a situation where you are using the mobile application, this is the only time that I can find that the color adjustment is useful. Or I won't say is useful. The color adjustment is a absolute must at the current moment, is if you're using the mobile application. Because the mobile application doesn't have all of the features that are designed inside or developed inside of the color enhancer, such as temperature, tint, saturation, all that stuff, it doesn't work in the mobile app. So if you edit a photo, you put it into your album, you sync that to your OneDrive, or not OneDrive, your ON1 cloud. When you go to the mobile application, if you click on that image, it's going to tell you that you can't open it, and it's going to render that file into pretty much baking in your adjustments. Now, that could be fine. You can absolutely do that. Not a problem. Go for it, right? However, if you use the color adjustment, then you will have access to editing your files on the mobile app. So that's the primary reason why I would suggest the color adjustment over the color enhancer, but they pretty much do the exact same thing. Now, if you haven't already, I have a video in the color or in the creative color series that kind of breaks down the color adjustment and the color enhancer. But today we're going to spend a lot of time inside of the color enhancer itself. So I'm just going to turn off the color adjustment and we're going to talk about some of the specificities. That's a cool word. Hopefully you guys think so as well. We're going to talk about some of that here in today's tutorial, and then I'm going to show you some tricks that I think you will find value added overall. So the very first thing that you can see here is you get the color adjustment. Now, if you go to the develop module, you will see that you have the color adjustment, which is your temperature, tint, saturation, and vibrance. Well, now that I have it built into one of these effects over here, I get access to a mask. So if I wanted to, I can change the white balance of the background versus the white balance of my subject. All right. Now I'll show you how that works very simply. I'm just going to click on the mask and then I'm going to go to Mask AI, and I want to paint out everything that is right in this area. So I'm just telling ON1 what I don't want in my mask. Nothing different than what we normally do. So just bear with me. I'm gonna go ahead and hit Shift X, make my brush larger. And yes, I'm still using the Toolbox Neo, which I'm finding very helpful, more so in my video editing, but definitely finding it useful here in comparison to my Elgato Stream Deck. I think I prefer the Stream Deck a little bit more right now, but we'll see how that works out when we get there. So, oh no, we don't want the tooth in there, so let's go ahead and change this. There we go. Make this a little bit smaller, and we'll paint that out because I don't want her tooth to be in there. We'll hit done, and we'll call this a good mask. All right, I could absolutely come in here and clean up along the edges, but I'm not going to worry about that. Moral of the story, I'm about to affect the background, and this is one of the benefits to using ON1 over many other editing software. But all I have to do now is, if I want to make the background just a little bit cooler, I can by just pulling down, and you can see I'm adding more blue into the background. Now, on the flip side, if I want to make it a little bit warmer, which is typically what I would like to do in an image like this, I can just pull up on this. And if I want to make the background a little bit more vibrant, I can do that as well. And maybe even pull down on the saturation. So now I have this photo of my daughter. She's popping out of the background. And I can even pull down the saturation all the way and make a really quick color pop if that's something that you're going for. And you know, I think you guys can see the usefulness of having this on a mask, or I'm sorry, on a filter where you can mask. But assume that you have some odd color balance issues. Maybe this is one of those ways that you can fix that. And you can even be creative with it, like I'm getting creative with it here. So, and I'll just pull up the vibrance, and now the background is more muted. It's a little bit brighter and warm toned, so it feels a little bit better. And then if I wanted to, I can check my highlights here and keep those more pure, so I'm not adding in this color into the highlights. There's a lot of different options that I have available with the color enhancer. Now, I'm going to go ahead and reset the actual adjustments. I want to keep the mask the same, but what I want to show is, and I'll actually minimize that piece as well. What I want to show is this color range piece. because combining these options with the color range is probably the reason why I would recommend using the color enhancer over the color adjustment every day of the week, no matter what. Even twice on Saturday, I'll recommend it. So we'll pull up on the vibrance, and now we're going to go into these individual channels. But I'm going to cheat a little bit and use this hue adjustment eye picker. So I want to change this, and that's really yellow, right? And I want to move that more towards the greens. And all I had to do was click the eyedropper, and then it's going to allow me to choose the green channel, or the appropriate channel, which it was yellow, so it wasn't hard to figure out what channel that is. But this yellow looking thing in the middle here, I want to move that as well. So I'll find where that is, and that's in the oranges. So I can move that more towards the yellows, which then will transform it a little bit more into that green color. So now I have most of this grass area down here selected or modified, and I can even adjust the range and move down the brightness. Now, I'm not going through exactly how to use these tools. I'm just showing examples because I think many of you already understand how this works. And if you don't, please drop a comment, let me know, and I'll go a little bit deeper with these. But I can even desaturate this a little bit, right? So I'm bringing down just the yellows, and I really want to mute those, right? I want those to maybe fall back just a little bit. And you could see just from the before and after, I'm getting a very different look in my image overall. And this is one, the power of having the mask inside of ON1. But two, if overall in the background, I want to desaturate the entire background, I can do that with the click of a slider. And if I'm like, you know what, I'm messing with the shadows too much, I can bring back more of that shadow detail, which there isn't much in this image, so that's not going to do us any good. But there is a lot of highlights. So now I have like this really cool muted highlight background, or really cool muted background. Okay. So that's the so what to this. Now we're going to do, like, you know, because I always want to make sure that you guys get some value out of my my lessons. So what we're going to do is something a little bit cool. Now, there's these edgy, desaturated looks out there on the street right now in the world of photography. So we're going to go ahead and throw in a curves adjustment, and we're going to fade this image a little bit. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Had to clear my throat. So we're going to fade this image a little bit and maybe put just a touch of contrast into the shadows, bring it up like so. And I think that's a good place for us to get started with this particular edit. I may even be able to bring on this particular image, bring this over just so it's a little bit more of a richer fade. All right. And I don't know if richer fade is the best way of putting it. And what I'm going to do is come into all of these channels, bring down, oh, that's the wrong slider, sorry. I meant to bring down the saturation. I want to bring the saturation down on all of these channels. And essentially this is going to make a black and white image, all right? And I'm okay with making it black and white. And yes, this does take a little bit of time. And I realized that I still have the cutout, so I'm going to get rid of the cutout because I don't want this to be, and maybe this is what you want, and then you can just fade back in all of your saturation, adjust the brightness accordingly. but I'm actually going to also reset this mask. But for the time, I'll copy it and then I'll just paste it over here onto our curves adjustment. And that way, if I need to get to it later, I still have it saved. That's all. It's the only reason why I'm doing that. You do not need to do that unless you have the same reason. So now I'm going to reset this and I essentially get a black and white image. Now, this is super cool because, and you could do this with the color adjustment as well. All right. You can absolutely do this with the color adjustment as well. I don't want you to think that this is exclusive to the color enhancer, but I'm demonstrating it on the color enhancer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the saturation, adjust saturation, grab the eyedropper, and I'm going to pull up or pull over on the skin tone because I think I want the skin tone to be there, right? And I'm seeing where the colors lie in this image. So obviously I'm missing all of this up here, so I need to do that again. I'm going to grab this adjust saturation. I'm going to click in one of these desaturated areas, and now it's bringing up the saturation in the reds. And I know that this is not looking the greatest right now, but just bear with me. And we still got more. What I'm doing is really just figuring out which channels have color in it that I need. And we'll come over here because that's black and white. And now I have all these weird looking colors in my image. But I have blues, I have purples, I have magentas, I have reds, orange, no yellow. So as soon as I start to introduce the yellow, you can see the life comes back into the image. So there's a lot of yellow in this image, and I think we can figure that out. But what I want to do is obviously pull back on the saturation of these purples. I don't think we need that much of a purple, and we definitely don't need this much blue, so we'll pull that back as well. The magentas, I think we can have in here just a little bit. Pull up on, nope, pull down on yellow. I think orange is where we really need to, yeah. We'll go there. And I know this does not look good at the moment, but look, now as I pull this back, we're starting to get more into that that desaturated look. So once you have your color in the image the way that you need it to be, right? Because I don't need blues as much. I don't need the purples. The whole reason, and I don't have any greens in this image right now. The reason why you want to desaturate all of your color channels is because it's going to allow you to bring back the colors exactly where you want them or need them. And now you don't have extra colors in your image that you probably didn't need. And you can rebuild your contrast. So I want my reds to be a little bit darker because that's primarily her skin tone, as well as the oranges. So I'll bring the oranges down a little bit. And this is going to be different for everyone's photo. And even in the purples, maybe I want to bring the purples up. She has purple highlights in her hair in this photo. So maybe I want to bring the purples a little bit brighter so those highlights in our hair pop out. And then coming over to the magentas, we'll see these are the highlights on her face. If I bring this up too high, I'll zoom in here. If I bring this up too high, it makes it look like a rash on her forehead, and that's not cool. We don't want that. So I don't know if I'm actually going to bring those up that high. And I may actually change the hue of these. And it may not be coming through very strongly on the stream, but it is changing in her forehead here. Ever so slightly, but just enough to make it make sense for me. So this is a look. It's not the look. It's not the best look, but it is a look. Now, what I am going to do is reset this, because that's one thing that you can do. All right. And then we get all of our color back. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is really just pull up on the vibrance, pull back on the saturation. Again, we're still going for that desaturated look, but now we're going to increase the range of our reds, and we'll saturate the reds. So she's going to get a really big boost and pop. And you have to be careful with this if you're going to print the image, right? Because if you put a whole bunch of red into your image, guess what? The printer is going to read a whole bunch of red. And if you don't have a calibrated monitor, you are likely going to have some challenges with printing. Now, I don't want her skin to turn like crazy weird colors. I'm trying to keep that as best I can. And really what we'll do is hit the gear icon, and we will pull away from the skin. You can see it's kind of masking this adjustment away from skin tones. So that is an option there. Now, we'll go ahead and turn off our settings on that. Before and after, it's really just an adjustment to brighten the reds outside of her skin tone. It makes sense if you're doing something other than portrait work. If you are doing something that is more landscape-ish, then you'll probably see that work a little bit better. I did have one more idea that I wanted to share with you. However, let me see. Desaturate all color ranges. You can make black and whites using these color adjustments and color enhancers. So if I pull down, and this is essentially, if you were to go to the black and white filter, I'm just going to pull one up. You have red, yellow, green, aqua, blue, and magenta. Well, over here in the color enhancer and the color adjustment, I want to add, you have access to red, orange, yellow, green, aqua, blue, purple, and magenta. So you actually get a few more options. You get purple and orange in the color enhancer. So if you want to get like super detailed with your black and white editing, you have the ability to do so with just having 2 extra channels of color here. So you got the orange and you get the purple. All right. And all you have to do with these, and you also get to control the range. How much am I affecting the purple? So this is another really fun way of working black and white images. So I can boost the purples, and it only makes sense if you have those colors in your image. If you don't, then having purple in your image is not going to really, being able to adjust purple in your image isn't going to make a difference. However, most photos have orange, red, yellow, and magenta because that's typically where skin tones lie. So here I'm getting a really fine detail over the skin tones, her highlights there. And then this is going to be like the base of her skin tone. Maybe I want her to be a little bit brighter in the image. And then yellow is where her skin tone really lives, or I guess the background lives in this particular image. And then we have magenta. These are more of the shadows on her face. Pull down on those just a tad bit. And then we already went to purple. I don't think there's anything in the blue channel. Oh, yep, I guess there's a little bit. But nothing worth making well seen here. Let's see if there's aqua. It seems like in the background. we can just darken the background, because we don't need, or at least I don't want any extra information in the background. No need for that. Now, I know that there's green in the image, and we are going to pull that over. And the other thing with editing black and whites in this way is you get access to a hue slider. Because you're technically still manipulating that color, you can shift the hue to whatever color you want to really work with and force that color to now be yellow, or which I'm pushing this into the yellows. So now when I come over to my yellow slider, I am now, and I can pull up the range on this as well, everything that I moved from the green slider into the yellow, and it'll make sense once I come back to the greens and I start to pull up. You can see how it's brightening this grass area right here, right over here. As I pull up, because I move those greens into the yellow, when I come over here to my yellow slider, if I move these more into the green, then I'm going to get more control over those areas in this portion. Hopefully that made sense. It's one of those things, when you play around with it, it will make sense. It'll just come through and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what that is. But if it doesn't make sense, then that's fine. Just let me know and I will do something, or I'll try and make it make sense a little bit later, maybe in another video, to clarify that, flush out my thoughts on this a little bit. Let's see, what else can we do here? I think, sorry, had to get a drink of coffee. But if you got questions, please drop them in the comment section. I'm all ears for answering any questions that you may have. Now, there's another situation where you are going, and you know what? I don't know why I'm even trying to do this without just grabbing a preset. I want to say it's in Dark Forest. So everyone should have access to Dark Forest. If you don't, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty confident that this is a preset pack that comes from the like the factory download of ON1. So it should just be built in, but I could be mistaken. And if Dark Forest is not, definitely Minimalist. I know Minimalist is in the ON1 presets that they offer to anyone who has the software. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is you can get some ideas of how to use the color enhancer. So we'll click on this preset because, and of course, the one I click on doesn't have the color enhancer or a color adjustment on it. I promise you these presets have them. And that one does not either. So maybe the Minimalist doesn't work. But Dark Forest should, because this is where you can manipulate that desaturated look, is essentially what I'm getting at. Usually whenever I want to go desaturated look, I start with one of these presets and then I will start to edit. So, and for whatever reason, maybe I am mistaken and I use a different preset pack because these are not the presets that I use. So we will disregard that. Just disregard that overall. Sorry for the confusion there. I will add, however, I do have a portrait preset pack specifically for ON1 Photo Raw. You can pick it up on my website for $19.99. And inside of this preset pack, you get access to 20 custom presets. Now, lots of them are going to look like they are the exact same one, and that's not entirely true. All right. I just want to be very clear. It is not that all of these are the same. Some of them have a lot of the same tools because one, I made them and these are the tools that I use, but they also have instructions inside of them. So if I open this one up, should be more than just the LUT on this one. I've been working on these for some months now, so I don't know what's in every single preset, because as I made the presets, and of course none of these have the color enhancer, so you guys are probably like, man, Chris, you don't know what you're talking about. I promise I do. The color enhancer is where it's at, with the exception of the color adjustment being used. And to save myself the prolonged embarrassment of not finding one of my presets that have the color enhancer in it, I can assure you that they do. But the cool thing, did not have this planned, but since we're on a portrait, in all of the presets, none of this is going to impact your exposure. All right. So if you are using if you're photographing portraits and you are using the develop module to modify your image, as soon as you click on effects or one of the presets, all of the preset adjustments are inside of the effects module. But the cool thing is you get the lens blur effect in this particular preset, and it tells you what to do, right? Adjust this with the radio mask, because that means I've already put a radio mask on there. So all you have to do is click on the mask, and you can hit the letter M on the keyboard, or you can just click on it and you can drag this around to make it make sense for your image. Want to rotate that a little bit and maybe even pull this out, because this image was photographed differently than the sample image that I used to build this particular preset. All right. So once that's done, you can do a before and after. You can see that this is just bringing that focus more into her. And for this image, maybe I wouldn't blur it as much. I could absolutely leave it there. But I also have access to a LUT in this particular image. That's what I did on this one. I used a LUT and probably a blend mode. Yeah, I used a blend mode with it. So tons and tons of opportunity here. I can desaturate this LUT. And of course, you can also add in the filters that you want. So maybe I want a vignette on this image. So I can grab a vignette, realize that it is below the film grain, so we need to put it above. So and Big Softy seems to be the vignette that does the trick in most cases. So that's, with a few clicks, I was able to get the idea of the photo that I wanted out, and I'm done with this one. I can move on to the next image. All right. Now, what I will mention is if you are using, if you need to do any cleanup work, right? Like there's a scar here, and then you can see all of the edits that I made earlier have disappeared. If you need to do any cleanup work, I recommend that you save this as a TIFF and then start working with the preset, or do a new layer and then make a stamped visible layer. So you can click on the layer icon right here. And then once you have two layers, you can right click and you can click new stamped layer. All right. Or you can do a merge visible but I recommend a new stamp layer. This keeps you from messing up your particular items, or I'm sorry, your photos. And you know, it's a non-destructive edit workflow. That's my preference. And then from there, start throwing your presets on, and you should be good to go. So we're going to come back over here. So, you know, essentially, I went through a few different options when it comes to the adjustment. The color adjustment and the color enhancer. Obviously, there are a lot of applications available for both of these tools. Now, if you have any specific questions that you want me to answer right now for anyone here on the live stream, please drop it in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer questions. And, you know, in the coming months, there will be more emphasis on how to use the color enhancer, which is what I use pretty much anytime I need to do it, because I have access to those extra tools. Now, one of the benefits to using the color adjustment is it's simple. And if you are one of the people that, you know, creatively, you're like, I need less to be more creative, then absolutely go with the color adjustment. And the added benefit there is when you make a preset for it, you'll be able to use that on the mobile applications and really get that thing going. So hopefully this live stream was helpful to everyone who was in attendance. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat section, so I'm just going to leave it there for the day. And if you need to, you can get a hold of me over on my website, freewillphotos.com. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can also drop comments down below. Everyone knows that I do get back to the comments. I do read them and respond. So until next time, I want you guys to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.